Welcome, everybody, to Off the Cuff. I am Adam Banks. Thank you for listening to the show. And this is another March Madness edition of Off the Cuff, where I am joined by my professional sports panel back in the studio with me for the second time this episode for this series. We got Zach Hahn, Chad Rainwater, Jordan Conaster, and for the first time making his debut on the March Madness series, Josh Bryant. And guys, what I want to do is I just want to basically review rounds 1 and 2. It was we got a lot to talk about, a lot of good things to talk about, and then just a few other things I want to mention. So let's jump right into it. Is all y'all's brackets busted yet?
Oh, mine's definitely busted.
Yeah, mine got busted yesterday.
Mine's not doing too bad.
Really?
I only did one. I've got Arizona and Kentucky in the finals.
Always got to be that guy.
Well, the reason I think his is not doing too bad is because there was really no upsets in the first round. I feel like that you play very conservative when you do brackets, and I always like to play very aggressive and take a lot of upsets, which it really didn't happen in the first round. Second round's a different story, though.
Yeah, the bracket I did here, I had Duke and Louisville in the Final Four, and both of them let me down. But, I'll take a broken bracket or busted bracket over Duke or Louisville going far. So
yes,
I had Duke in my championship game and winning it all. And I will definitely, like I said last show, if Duke goes out, don't get me wrong, I will be more than happy. They were such a disappointment.
Who was right?
Hey,
Who was right?
Hey, can you just go ahead and play the clip that we have of Jordan there?
You want to play the clip?
Y'all took a clip.
We actually, in the pre-production of the podcast, we were actually trying to find the clip of Jordan saying that, and we were going to start the show out.
I think
with
we
Jordan.
got distracted a little bit.
We did.
At least I jinxed Duke, though, I guess. We could look at it that way. And then I still don't have Kentucky in my championship game, no matter how it goes right now. So hopefully that can help Kentucky out. Maybe it'll work out in our favor.
Keep it that way, man. Let's talk about a few standout games of round 1 and 2. Vandy versus Northwestern.
Woo.
Yes, I like the Northwestern crowd because you got Elaine from Seinfeld there. She's it was just cool seeing her, a famous celebrity in the audience, being a mom, Zach. You know what I'm saying?
That really speaks to Northwestern basketball, though. I mean, we've had not just Ashley Judd, but a lot of famous people over the years at UK support the program. Drake, LeBron said he would have been a Wildcat if he had to go to college, if that rule had been in effect. Northwestern has Elaine from Seinfeld. That really speaks to the tradition of that program, or lack thereof, Adam.
Absolutely. I just like that. It's awesome when you see celebrities in the audience watching college basketball.
You got to think, all the people, the broadcasters and stuff that work at ESPN and CBS and stuff went to Northwestern.
That's true.
Northwestern is...
It's a great journalism school.
A great journalism school. So they have... that's like... This morning I was listening, and it's just like, I know I'm a big fan of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio, and Mike, not Mike Golick, what's the other Mike's name?
Greenberg.
Greeny, yeah. He went to Northwestern, and they had been talking about Northwestern for a while, and I know a lot of the people that work at ESPN went to Northwestern.
And they were an 8 seed. I think that the seeding was a little weird, which it always kind of is, because they had Wisconsin as a 8 seed and Northwestern as an 8 seed. I just don't think that those teams were evenly matched.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know. If you look, Wisconsin was down this year. They might have been a little bit better than Vandy, but Vandy had some pretty good wins. I think they came in with 14 or 15 losses, which is crazy as an 8 seed. They might have been a little overrated, in my opinion.
Agreed, 100%. You don't rank a team that high. There's teams that high in the NIT that have 14 or 15 losses.
Well, I think we can all admit that the seeding isn't reflective of how good a basketball team is anymore. It's made for TV. There's computer rankings that can put together teams based on what they've done on the court, but why do you need a committee to put together good made-for-TV matchups?
The reason I brought up that game was the way it ended. Matthew Fisher-Davis. See, he's been their star player for Vandy, and he's just a good basketball player, and it's just a shame that the way it ended for him, that this is the way this kid's going to be remembered.
Yeah, that you hate it for him. As good as a player he is, you just hate to see him lose like that. But apparently he thought they were down 1. During the game he wasn't for sure why he fouled, if he thought they were up, if he thought they had a foul to give. But apparently their coach Bryce Drew pointed over to the guy, and he thought he meant to foul him.
Right.
When in reality he meant to match up with him and guard him.
I thought Bryce Drew was still pointing up the court. Whenever they were showing from the other side of the court, it looked like Fisher Davis was still behind Bryce Drew, and Bryce Drew it looked like he was giving directives up court for what they were about to do on defense. Like, you've got to know that you were just down one, and then LaChance comes down, hits that crazy layup going through the lane, and then I was so shocked just to see Fisher Davis just immediately foul their best free throw shooter. It sucks for him. That kid's he's a good ball player. But
yeah, you can't put the blame all on him. I mean, he had a third of Vandy's points. I mean, yeah, it was his fault, kind of, but you can't put all the blame on Fisher Davis.
Well, I guess him and Chris Webber can go get dinner now and talk about things together.
Yes, exactly. Why can't you put all the blame on Fisher? He has to realize as a player, you've been playing basketball all your life. You've been in this situation before. You don't listen to the coach in this situation. I'm sorry. You ignore that point and you do not foul.
But the coach wasn't saying to foul, and the coach was just pointing the matchup.
Agree. But you
definitely listen to the coach.
Agree. But you're analyzing my point too much. What I'm saying is, even if the coach was telling you to foul, you don't foul. As a player, you have to realize if he is as good as you all speak, then you have to realize what time it is in the game, how much you're up, and everything else. I don't care how much pressure.
Sure,
is on
and I
the
see
game,
what you're saying. And as a college basketball player, you got to know how to do that.
You are a D1. I'm sorry, there's no excuse. No,
right.
It's unfortunate that it happened, and it's being analyzed to the point that it is. But you know what? Next week will be forgotten about because of an upset that happened on Friday by some other team. Okay. So right now, though, it is the highlight because there are no games going on. It's unfortunate. This kid is at the topic.
Right. So yeah, and the Northwestern, they moved on, of course, and their little run was ended short because they lost their next game to
Gonzaga.
But still fascinating to talk about.
But man, it was that was such Northwestern was down as many as 15 the whole game, and then this came back in the second half. Then the crazy? I mean, it was just it all sparked with that crazy goaltending call. The kid off of Gonzaga stuck his hand through the net. In my opinion, you can't blame the officials because that was something like if you were watching it live, you kind of had to sit there and like, hold on, rewind this.
Right.
Let them play it in slow motion. Did he really just, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Why their coach, Chris Collins?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he stormed the court and then he gets a technical. So then you're looking at, giving Gonzaga way too many points. And it's just, I can't blame the coach for doing it. But then again, you can't sit there and ask your players to hold their composure and this and that when you're going to do something like that. Like, that's something like it sucks, but you kind of got to run with it. But I hated seeing Northwestern go out. I thought they should have beat Gonzaga, and I still think Gonzaga should have been the first number one seed out. I don't think they're that good.
Right. So another standout game of round one I thought was SMU versus USC, and the reason I even mentioned that game is that's just a game where you have to actually absolutely make your free throws. That just proves how important free throws are in college basketball because they both missed their free throws and it ultimately costed them the game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Adam, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. One thing I've been pretty adamant about over the years is that I think that the importance of free throws is just overstressed. You don't want to be in that situation in the first place. When you look at Kentucky, for example, a program that's been at the top for years now under Cal, I don't think free throws have ever been an emphasis for that team. Have we lost games because of free throws? Sure, a couple, but really you don't want to have it come down to that. If you can shoot field goals better, you rebound better, you don't turn the ball over, you get the other team to turn the ball over. It's not going to come down to the line.
Right. And at the end of college basketball, I love watching the end of a college basketball game when it's a close score for a couple reasons. One, I like to see what the coach is going to do. I want to see how the players are going to react to that. And, there's always a surprise factor that's going to happen within those few seconds, and a lot can happen. And your fouls are very important, and it's also your free throws are very important. But your fouls, intentionally foul, that's what you do when you need to stop the ball. You need to stop the clock. Mm-hmm. And that kind of ultimately screwed Seton Hall out of that Arkansas game. Did you guys get to see that game?
I didn't get to see it, but you know what? That makes a good point. Like, you got to avoid putting yourself in a situation. If it comes down to free throws, you know what? There's probably some other small mistake you made. Offensive rebounds, turnovers, something else that has caused it's not just free throws usually. I mean, that's very rare. I'm sure very few games even come down to that this season. Or this tournament. I mean, there's always something else that you can look at the statistics and see that's also wrong.
I mean, with free throws, down the stretch, you have to make your free throws. In my opinion, if you want to win a ball game, you have to secure the game in every way. You have to make your free throws.
Agreed, but do you think
they're free throws?
Do you think that was the only thing that gave Seton Hall the loss in that game versus Arkansas?
No, well, the cause of the whole Seton Hall and Arkansas loss was the flagrant foul that was called, and that's what I wanted to talk about. See, a flagrant foul is called when there is a intentional.
I saw this play. I'm sorry.
There is an intentional foul, but it's but it's without excess like behavioral, like you didn't do it on purpose. You were actually making a play in
Just
the game.
too violent.
Yeah, and they're saying that, and I think that was a bad call on the referee's part, because in such a close game like that, in the atmosphere that it was in March Madness, you're going to call a flagrant foul when they're down that low, because the score, it was like within 2, and Arkansas had a chance to, or Seton Hall had a chance to stop the ball, and which they fouled to do that, and they called a flagrant, which made Arkansas go score 2 points and get the ball back, which screwed Seton Hall. So I think that, in that situation, when they say foul, like, how are you supposed to foul? Are you supposed to, like, just tap them and hope they call it? Or
with an intentional foul, you just want to wrap.
You want to wrap, like hold them, like you don't want to like
but
push.
Not violently.
So you don't want to bear hug them. You want to come up, and you just grab a hold of them just to stop their movement.
Okay, so for our fans though, please describe what happened. You can't just go in. So what actually happened?
It was a trip. It was a trip. I didn't know this. I didn't get to watch the game.
Was it a trip or did he just fall?
Looking back at the recap of the game, it says that the guy's left foot clipped Barford in an accidental trip, and they changed it to a flagrant.
Okay.
So trip, though,
So we didn't describe the play, so you're saying it shouldn't be a flagrant. Is that what you're saying, Banks? Now that we've described the play?
Yeah,
That should have been a common foul.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that in an important atmosphere like that, in the game that it was, I think it was a bad call on the referee's part to call it flagrant, because it cost Seton Hall the game. They got screwed.
Yeah, nobody wants to see the refs determine the outcome of the game, especially when it's in question like that. If somebody got hit in the face, or somebody threw an elbow, or was just deliberately violent, they're not going to understand it. But just a trip that's kind of on the line like that, I agree with you, Adam. It's not a situation where the referee should be the one deciding the outcome.
In March Madness, I don't know if y'all watched all the games last night or not, but I can't think of what game it was. But in the last minute or so, they went and reviewed to see if a call in a close game was a flagrant foul or not. Mm-hmm. And the commentators even think, hey, we're thankful that they're going to let this keep going as a common foul. Could it have been a flagrant? It probably could have. I don't think the kid intentionally meant to do what he did. But then again, it's March Madness. The intensity and stuff between all these teams, it's there. Let the kids play ball. If it gets a little bit rougher, you kind of got to look at the scene you're in. You're not in a SEC regular season game. You're not in the non-conference game. You're in the NCAA tournament, and you're playing for it all.
Absolutely, man. And I also need to mention, just because the University of Kentucky, because that's all of our teams, they played in the first round. They played NKU. Now, here's my thing about that game. All the number 1, number 2 seeds, they did their thing in the first round. They won by 20, 15, 20, 25 points. Here comes Kentucky and only wins by 9 against NKU. But here's my thing. Don't take anything away from NKU. They played well, and I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet you are.
Very happy to see it. It's a new, fresh team into Division I. I like it.
They're going to be good. They'll be in the tournament. They'll be a new Kentucky team that starts seeing the tournament, every couple of years. But I think Kentucky held their own for pretty much all that game. You played at the level of your competition a lot of the times, and I still think Kentucky dominated the game overall. The score doesn't reflect that, but I think if Kentucky wanted to go off, they could have done it. So I'm cool with the way Kentucky played. We need close games in the tournament. But I'm also very proud of Northern Kentucky stepping it up and representing the state like they did in the first round. And it sucks they had to play the University of Kentucky, but
yeah, I don't think there was one point in that game where you thought that Northern Kentucky was going to make a comeback to actually win. We had the lead for probably all of the game. They did cut it within 7, but there's only like 30 seconds to go. I don't know. I just think that this Kentucky team is just a team that doesn't blow out a lot of other teams.
Right.
Yeah, we just don't do it. I don't know the last blowout we had. If you can probably, I guess, maybe consider the Arkansas game. We won by 18. That's not really considered a blowout. When you look at teams like Kansas and North Carolina who beat their first round teams by 30, 35 points, we're just not a team that can do that. We give up. We let off the gas too easy. We don't play a full 40 minutes.
That's the thing.
These aren't 7-game series. That's what I want everybody to remember. Okay, let's play Northern Kentucky in a 7-game series, and let's see if we don't blow them out a couple games. Okay, that's what people need to remember. Just teams aren't always going to have blowouts in the first round. Things are going to happen. Mishaps are going to happen. Monk might not step up as much as he needs to. Fox might overplay, and that we don't have a blowout. But in Kansas, all their players click. Things happen like they should have, so therefore you have a blowout. Just because we're not having blowouts doesn't mean we're not a great team.
Right. And coaches like to use the catchphrase or the cliche of a win's a win. They don't want to talk about the margin. Mm-hmm. In the regular season, you can kind of punch holes in that. But March Madness, a win really is a win. You can talk about Kansas beating their UC Davis by 30, but their win and our win over Northern Kentucky puts us in the same spot.
Great point, Zach. Exactly. Even if you were to do a 7-game series with these Kansas team, whoever they beat in the round we were talking about, they're not going to beat them by 25 every time they play. There's going to be some close games. You know what? The other opponent might even beat them once or twice, and it might be a 4-2 series or something.
Right.
So round 1 ended kind of with no upsets, but boy, round 2 was a lot of fun to watch. And I think that you had round 2 on Saturday and Sunday. I think Saturday was a little slow, but Sunday actually was a day full of basketball, and that was cool to have college basketball all day on a Sunday like that. It was like one time a year you get that. It's like football, You get that with college basketball. I did nothing but lay on the couch that day.
I didn't move from the recliner from Friday all the way to Sunday. Stayed in the recliner, watch basketball 24/7. Well, it was on 24/7, but as much as I could.
You got up to go to the kitchen and get a beer and dinner, but besides that,
It's exciting though just to watch those games.
He was watching the CBI at 2 a.m. He didn't care.
Absolutely. So just to mention some of those games, let's just start off with this big boom. Duke got beat by South Carolina. I watched minute by minute of that game, every single bounce of that basketball game, and Duke went out. That was huge. And Frank Martin, it was his first time being in the Sweet 16, and it was also South Carolina's first appearance in the Sweet 16.
It's South Carolina's. Their first win in the round of 64 was their
1973 was the last time.
1973 was the last time they've got an NCAA tournament win. So that's a South Carolina team that's on the rise.
So that's got to be the biggest upset.
Hey, he's
right
so far.
100% biggest upset.
I thought Xavier really laying it to Florida State was pretty surprising.
It's a great big upset, but not as big.
Xavier just dominated. Xavier's playing so well right now under Chris Mack. They blew Florida State out, 20-some points.
While we're going to bring that point up, let's bring this point up, and it's something that you kind of look at. The ACC is such a highly touted conference all year. 4 or 5 top 10 teams all year pretty much.
Right.
What has happened to the ACC in the tournament this year? They have one team left. That's North Carolina.
And then look at the SEC.
That's what I was going to bring up. That's what I was going to bring up. Yes, the SEC is looking fantastic right now.
The disappointment of the ACC has been one of the main reasons my bracket is just shredded in the bottom of my trash can right now.
Right.
I don't know, Jordan. Maybe they're just playing you can't say that those teams, I guess they're not as good as you expected, but you can't say they're not good teams. Maybe they're just the strategy, what it takes to win in the ACC. They're not ready to play the country as a whole again or something. I don't know.
And it's something, ACC is a good conference. If you like college basketball, you've got to enjoy a good ACC ball game all year long. You get the Dukes and Louisvilles and North Carolinas, Virginia Techs, Florida States, Virginias. It's good basketball all year long, and it's just crazy to see the ACC just get destroyed in the NCAA tournament like they have this year.
Yeah, they came into the tournament looking like Mickey Mantle and went out looking like Mickey Mouse.
Kill them.
Yes, they did, though.
Kill them with the analogy, Chad.
I love it. But speaking of the ACC being bad, let's talk about the SEC being good. We had. You got to hand it to the SEC. Vandy, they screwed themselves, but they were talented enough to go further.
Just think they could still be here.
Arkansas, they had that game against North Carolina.
I
wanted that so bad.
They got North Carolina all they could handle.
I wanted that so bad. And then South Carolina with the upset over Duke, and then we still got Kentucky in there. And then Florida's still in there. So the SEC is it's phenomenal. I love it.
Florida, it shocked me that Florida just came and blew out. They allowed Virginia, a top 20 team all year, to come out and score, 32 points, 36 points all game. Florida destroyed
39,
Virginia.
65-39.
I like what Frank Martin said. He said at the end of the game when they interviewed him, he said, "How do you think my guys got prepared? It was the conference that we play in that got us prepared to win this game."
That's right.
So that was a good way to just sum it up. Like, the SEC is so underrated.
The SEC is underrated, but we're the youngest. SEC is the youngest conference by age in the entire NCAA right now.
Whose fault do you think that is?
And you've got great coaches coming into the SEC. I think the SEC was underrated this year, but I also think the SEC should have been underrated coming into this year because the new coaching, the lack of age that you have, the lack of leadership that you have in the SEC. But they came out to prove themselves. And teams like South Carolina with Sendarius Thornwell, that kid is a ball player, and he gets that team going with him. And it's some of your senior leadership helping these young kids in it. And it took a lot longer than the first 2 months of the season to see that the SEC was going to have these teams that could just come out and cause some madness in March.
Let's talk about the Cincinnati UCLA game. I thought that was a kind of a standout game because Alonzo Ball, just period. I think that guy is just probably going to be number one in the draft.
Yeah, as much as I don't want to believe his father's hype, this kid seems to be getting better as the tournament goes.
His father's ridiculous.
Is a jerk, and you shouldn't read his stories because he's just looking for you to read his stories.
I heard them say, I guess it was Charles Barkley the other day, and he was saying you got to watch for Lonzo Ball's dad. Not the media following him, but him following the media. He enjoys being on the camera, and it's just ridiculous. And he's going to end up hurting his kid, if not at this level, at the next level, because he's put a target on that kid's head.
That's agreeable. You got to think about NBA teams. If you haven't already thought about it, forewarning: if you draft this kid, you draft his father. You draft the storylines along with it.
His father, in case you folks at home haven't heard, if you haven't heard, you're not a basketball fan at all.
Please.
It involves Lonzo Ball's dad, who basically, there's a story that come out saying that in the Ball family, the mom has cancer of the brain, and she had to have some type of surgery, and Lonzo Ball's dad is not allowing the kids to see the mom because it's bad for the Lonzo family brand or the Ball family brand.
I'm hoping that's just bad media.
I hope so too. That sounds inhumane.
Man, you've got to look at it, and what it surprised me out of his dad. His dad's an idiot.
Yeah,
like his dad. What he went to Northern Washington and averaged like 1.2
points.
Points in college, and he's saying that he could have beat Michael Jordan one-on-one.
So
get out of here.
Exactly. That's what I was about to point out. As absurd as that story is, there's a few more other absurd stories. He's saying his son is the best player in the world right now, including LeBron James and Steph Curry.
He's just trying to sell his son. He's trying to sell his son.
I mean, sell your son.
He's trying to sell him. But
if I had a son in his son's shoes, of course I'm going to hype my son up.
If I had 3 sons in his son's shoes,
he's just not
do it a different way.
He's just not a very likable person, and like you can't market your son and not be likable. Nobody's going to pick you up. No brand is going to pick you up if you're not a likable person. Think about everybody who's in big marketing campaigns. They're likable.
Right, right. I mean, I don't know too much about Lonzo Ball or his younger brothers because it's like the whole their personality is just completely overshadowed by their dad at this point. So I think that does factor into marketing, like you said, Adam. I think that probably hurts them a little bit.
I absolutely agree. And, just to wind things down to the round 2, I've got to talk about the number 1 overall seed to go out was actually, it was the first number 1 seed to drop was the overall seed Nova. Like that was a very disappointing thing to see because Nova, if you look at all their history, they always go out after the first and second round.
I don't want to say disappointment. I love seeing the number 1 seeds drop. Let them drop like flies.
Yeah.
If Kentucky's not a number 1 seed, let them drop like flies.
Yeah.
Gotta love the old saying.
Right. So yeah, they went out. Wisconsin advances. I don't really know if that was a good seed, for Wisconsin to be an 8 playing the number 1.
Oh yeah, I wasn't gonna say anything about that game, but I was gonna say one of the games that I watched that was late on Friday night. It was a really, really good game. Maybe one of the best games I'd seen up until yesterday of the tournament.
Yeah.
Was Iowa State and Purdue. I don't know if y'all watched this game or not. Purdue came in as the 4 seed. I actually had Iowa State winning this game, but Iowa State was down 19 in the second half, came back to take a 1-point lead, but Purdue, Caleb Swanigan, he's a beast, man.
He's ridiculous.
He put up, he was like 20 and 12 and a 7 assists, almost triple-double. He's good. And I think that going into this next round, the Sweet 16, I think Purdue has a really good chance to beat Kansas.
Really? The way Kansas has been playing, you think Purdue can take that?
Yeah,
offense,
I don't know if
Kansas.
I don't know if anybody on Kansas is going to be able to keep Swanigan in check. I mean, they have Landon Lucas. I'm not sure how good of a defensive player he is, but if they have no way to stop him, he's going to tear him up down in the paint.
I think all that game is going to depend on a lot of if Josh Jackson going to different cities and stuff can stay out of trouble and quit trying to beat up people's cars and stuff.
That's about the truth.
And then the highlight of the Wichita versus Kentucky game was, of course, Greg Marshall's wife getting really drunk and yelling at Briscoe to buy bigger shorts and for Malik Monk to get in the gym to get more muscular.
See, I don't know. The highlight of that game for me, like, that was ridiculous that his
Yeah.
wife just got that intoxicated and that ridiculous. Because you know you're going to be on camera. And it's just like you watch Cal's wife on camera, Ellen, and she's just so
She was
laid
like,
back.
hey.
She was
Calm.
dabbing after the game.
But
Is that what that's called? I don't know
But-
what she was doing with her hands. But she was,
But let me ask you though, Jordan. Like, do you think something like that? You know, the way that his wife acts. Do you think that could hurt Greg Marshall with getting a bigger job at a university?
No, because they've been-
there's a lot of
There's
of
not.
athletic directors that will not put up with that.
But you got to think, out of all the tournament games and stuff he's had over the past 5, 6, 7 years, has she done that before? No. You know, maybe it was a bad night for her. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with her that night, but no, that will not affect anything for him getting another job.
I tell you what though, Mitch Barnhart wouldn't put up with that for a second. If that happened under Greg Marshall being the coach at UK and his wife was acting like that, ooh, there would be some precautions.
And that's
taken.
why I
I
said
don't know,
100%.
man. I think Ellen Calipari could bring bottle rockets to a game if she wanted to and just start shooting them out, and they still wouldn't have a problem with Cal.
There's not that many Greg Marshalls floating around on the market. If somebody's going to hire him, then it's not like that. You know, that's going to be the deciding
Okay,
factor.
fair point. Very fair
Not
point.
the
So
deciding
there's a
factor,
lot
but
of
you gotta take it
schools.
into consideration. On
There's a lot of schools that you're saying that will basically hire to win.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sure,
and
sure.
Kentucky's being one of them. We hired to win.
I think after this weekend, I think Greg Marshall's off our list.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chad. And tell us why. Why do you think
Just
that?
because of what happened yesterday, his wife. I don't
Right.
think, like you said, I don't think Mitch Barnhart's going to put up with that.
Yeah,
Well, that's
keep it
because
classy.
that happened to Kentucky directly. If it had been Greg Marshall's wife doing that to North Carolina, people here would think that she was hilarious.
Well, you know, on social media, I read that that wasn't the first time she had done that.
Right. There's
This
a
is the first
lot.
time she got
There's a
caught.
lot of universities that would put up with it. Louisville being one.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Definitely.
Louisville would hire Greg Marshall. I mean,
no,
his
yeah.
his wife could have sex with a with a student there in the stands, and Louisville would be like, it's okay, he wins. It's okay, he wins. He wins.
Y'all think? Where do you think he's going? Do you think he's going to leave Wichita State this year and go somewhere?
Probably going to Louisville.
No, because I think next year they'll have an even better team than they did this year.
He is waiting on a powerhouse to open. I think that a powerhouse did open this year with Indiana, but I haven't heard anything circling around the coaching carousel.
I'm going to tell you the one person I think the Indiana job is secured already. I think Steve Alford from UCLA is going to Indiana.
He's going to take it.
He's an Indiana
Probably.
He's an Indiana superstar.
Probably.
He's from Indiana. What did he play at IU?
Yeah.
I mean, you get that in there,
Legend
and
at IU.
it's just, and then you bring him back one of the biggest, oldest powerhouses in college basketball.
Also, did you see his this money they threw at him? $37 million for 7 years. That's $4.3 million a year.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot
so
of
that's.
money
I was sitting there thinking,
a
like,
coach in
how are you
college,
going to get me
yes.
out of sunny California? $4.3 million will get me out of sunny California.
Oh gosh, yeah, it will.
That put me in Bloomington.
And it'll get me out of the Ball family troubles for the next 10 years too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't
That might be
think-
the biggest perk of all.
There's a lot of coaches that wouldn't take that job because of all the headaches that you have with that. I mean, how much is he really getting to be the coach?
I would love to see UCLA just fall down because of the Ball dad. And
What-
nobody in UCLA just be like, listen, kids, we're not recruiting you anymore. We can't handle this. And then just everybody just
Well, the
leave
ball
him
that he
alone.
won't be there after Alonzo's gone, right?
Now
Oh,
they
no,
get the
all
brothers.
three of
So
them.
are they all
they're
coming to
all
UCLA?
three
Are they all
of them.
signed?
Yeah.
All three of them
But they can all
are-
decommit with a new coach. They can all decommit with a new
What
coach.
hole do you live
But
in?
what coach, like we said,
The only way
would
that they
say-
would decommit is if the coach was like, "No, I'm not going to put up with this."
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, you
so-
got to have a coach that says, "I don't really want to win."
A
I
lot,
kinda
a
just
lot
want
would have to change in order for that to happen, and it's not gonna change. And they are gonna go there and play the balls,
Right. So
and they're probably gonna ball.
yeah. So
They're pretty good.
yeah. So yeah, the Sweet 16. Let's review that. So because that was rounds 1 and 2. What is that, Chad? I didn't get you, man, on that.
You didn't get the sign language.
Yeah, I didn't
No,
get the
I
sign
was
language.
gonna. No, just keep going.
Okay.
Chad wants to make picks.
Picks at the end. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for our league, of course, yeah, for our Final Four for sure. So let's talk about.
No, just for the Sweet 16.
We have the Sweet 16 set.
Let's
I
go
know.
with
We
the
pick your
elite.
winners of the Sweet 16. Not all. We've already done our Final Four.
For sure, yes. Let's
We'll
talk.
just go through
Let's
yeah,
review
just
the
keep
Sweet
doing your thing.
16. So let's look at the games that's in the Sweet 16. Wisconsin and Florida. We got an SEC team versus the number 8 Wisconsin. Now I think that's just an interesting matchup. I got Florida in that because I think Mike White, Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should be Coach of the Year. Outstanding. Second year at Florida. Look at what he's doing. It's great. Following in the shoes of Billy Donovan.
Hey, those are big shoes to fill.
And
He's
he's
filled
filling them
every
well.
single
Filling
last
them
inch
well.
of them,
Yes,
man.
yeah, he's feeling them. You know, it's a good thing. I think it's a good matchup.
And you know, one thing that I found out the other day, which is pretty interesting. You know, it comes down to neutral courts, like how you play on a neutral court. You know what Florida played when they played this past? What they played Saturday?
Yes.
That was the 9th neutral court they played on this year. You know, before when their the season started, what is it? The O'Connell Arena, or whatever.
Right.
It was under O'Connell Center.
Right.
O'Connell Center. Is it just Connell or is it
O'Connell?
So it's one of
okay?
those.
Well, anyway,
It's got a big
that's the
gator
point.
at the midcourt.
They had renovations going on. And they played 9 home games away from their court.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty interesting that they had played 9 games on neutral courts. So I thought, when you look at this game, Wisconsin and Florida, I think it gives Florida a little bit of advantage.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it gives Florida a little bit of advantage going forward in the whole tournament.
You got Florida.
I've got Florida, and I'm right there with Chad. Neutral court thing, it makes a big difference. You look at teams like Kentucky going off to getting these different tournaments and not wanting to play Indiana home and home, wanting to play in somewhere like Indianapolis, kind of a mid-site to where both fan bases can be there, and you've got that tournament vibe going behind you. It does help you a lot.
Next game, Baylor, South Carolina. Josh, who you got in that game?
Baylor and South Carolina.
South
I
Carolina,
don't know if
SEC. Frank Martin on a roll, beat Duke.
As much as I'd love to see the SEC keep up this greatness that they've proved to everyone they still have, Baylor is a much better high-ranked team. And,
Baylor's that team that always does the upsets. Like
they
every
do.
year.
They do.
They're that team.
But South Carolina's not upset at this point.
Them and Butler are always the ones that just surprise you in the tournament.
Scott Drew's a hell of a coach, though. Scott, and he's always he brings talent in every year. And Baylor's been what they set at number 1 for 2 or 3 weeks
They were
this
there
year.
for a little bit in the revolving door. South Carolina, I'd love to see them win that game, but they had their best game against Duke.
You think it ends?
It's hard to play that good every night.
But the thing about South Carolina, man, it's a Sendarius Thornwell show. If he shows up, they win. If he gets in foul trouble, they lose. Their offense does not work without him.
Where's that one at?
Right here. It's right here in the
where
east.
what city?
It don't have the cities on this bracket here. The only one I know is that Kentucky's in Memphis. I know that.
If it's close to South Carolina, and that could be like almost a home game for them, that could be a factor.
Would their fans come out though, even if it was South Carolina?
I think so. They were playing in Greenville in the first 2 rounds, and it seemed like a home game for South Carolina.
The game's in New York.
Their fans aren't coming. Their fans barely come to SEC games.
No, they're not going to New York. Just everything I just said, just go ahead and
edit it back. Don't put it on the show.
Yeah.
So,
don't need to make the final cut.
Chad, does the dream end for the Gamecocks against Baylor?
Yes, as bad as I hate to say it. I do want to pick South Carolina here just because they're so hot, especially with the win over Duke. But I think, I don't know, that's tough, man. Look at Baylor's recent past. I mean, they got beat by, they got beat by Yale a couple years ago, or last year. No, it wasn't Yale. Who was it they got beat by? It's one of those Ivy League schools.
Yeah, they always do well in the tournament, seems like. Those Ivy League schools.
The Ivy League
Harvard,
schools. Yeah,
Princeton.
Yeah. It was Harvard, Princeton, one of those teams last year to beat them. But excuse me. but then you have Baylor, who went to the Elite Eight in 2012. I mean, so you never know what you're going to get.
And had to play Kentucky, which that was like going from
I don't
the Mack
know.
truck.
I'm probably going to go.
You were getting run over.
It would be nice to see a Florida-South Carolina Elite Eight game.
That'd be cool.
If Thornwell gets hot, I'm going South Carolina. But if he comes out and can't hit, I'm going Baylor.
Guys, I'm going South Carolina because I want to see the Florida-South Carolina. I want to see Florida-South Carolina in the league. I want to see it, but it is going to happen. Because, listen, I think that South Carolina beat Duke. I mean, they beat Duke. Duke was
I guess they're the champs now.
No. I just think that right now, momentum says a lot in a tournament. And I think that Frank Martin right now has so much passion. And those players have so much passion. It's almost just like watching high school basketball. Just a lot of heart, a lot of gut, sweat, blood, and tears on the court from the Gamecocks. And I think that they're going to go to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I don't know how many high school teams would make the Elite Eight in March Madness, but okay.
Well, by the way, shout out to Bowling Green High School of Kentucky for winning the 2017 Kentucky High School State Championship. Next game, Gonzaga WVU. Zach, who do you got?
Well, I think the key factor in this one is normally, I'm not big on the Mountaineers because I just, they're about a Sweet 16 team most of the time. But I see them going farther this year, Adam, and I'll tell you why. The other day I was watching them play in I believe it was one of the 2 games they played already. And I noticed that Mr. Bob Huggins, he had his tracksuit top on. But you know what he had on underneath of it?
What'd he have?
Or for his pants?
What?
He had slacks on, Adam. He's stepped it up another level.
He don't have his gym pants on anymore?
No, he's wearing slacks with the gym top now.
Maybe
it tells me that is a more serious, more focused, more dedicated Bob Huggins, and I look for the Mountaineers to roll over the Zags.
Here's
into the Elite
you
Eight.
want to hear my theory of why he's wearing dress slacks, Zach? Here's why. Bob Huggins passed out earlier in the year, if you remember. He passed out on the court.
He did.
I think he
Yeah, he
had.
did.
I think he had a moment of reckoning. Like, wow, my great life as a college basketball coach could have ended right here. So I'm going to start dressing up for these games. I'm a college basketball coach.
I think that equates to W's, if you ask me.
It
All I want to
does.
say about his wardrobe, I think Bob Huggins can come out in the court naked, and West Virginia's still going to beat Gonzaga.
You think so?
West Virginia's about to destroy Gonzaga.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Gonzaga, the next one to go.
I'm going Zags.
You going Zags?
Like I said,
I'm going Zags.
I said this in the last podcast. I believe the Zags are legit this year, man. You don't win 34 games. Winning 34 games doesn't say nothing. So
Kentucky could win 34 games in the OVC too, though.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, but I'm going Zags, man. They're a really good veteran team. I think it's going to be hard to stop Williams Goss and their big man who actually has the most college wins ever. I don't even know if I can say his name. Oh, I don't know his first name, but his last name is Karnowski. I think it's going to be really hard to stop him. I'm going Zags.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to go Zags too. Xavier, Arizona. The way Xavier's playing under Chris Mack right now, I don't think that Xavier is a team that you can beat. I think they're going to the Elite Eight. I think Sean Miller, the coach of Arizona, is overrated. I would be really pissed if Kentucky hired him as head coach. I'm sorry. I don't like the guy. He's had a chance.
We're not getting rid of Cal.
I was just saying, I don't think that he has proven himself at Arizona. He has had everything that he needs to succeed there, and he's never taken them to a Final Four. And his brother Archie Miller is a better coach. So I just think that Xavier, Chris Mack, better coach. I think he's going to beat Arizona.
I don't know, man. Sean Miller, he was a National Coach of the Year this year, and he was a finalist for National Coach of the Year last year. He's doing his thing at Arizona.
I don't know. You also got to think Billy Gillespie was also SEC Coach of the Year at one point in time, and we know how that was. So sometimes those awards are just kind of like.
You going to Arizona?
Am I going to Arizona?
No. Are you going to Arizona? Are you going to Arizona?
I'm going Xavier.
You're going Xavier?
Yeah, I do not.
Man, that's
I
tough.
don't know
Yeah.
about that.
I'm taking Arizona in my
Taking
championship
Arizona.
game.
Alonzo Trier and
Taking X.
Larry
Taking
Markkinen.
X.
Those two guys are pretty good right there. And I think Xavier's little Cinderella run-ins
Taking
right
X.
there. I'm going Arkansas.
Although
Yep.
I wish I could say that. I'm going Arizona.
Cincinnati, though, is the city of losers. They lose at everything. Baseball. I hate to say that, but they do.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, it's
Football.
gonna be a long
And
red season.
Yeah. It's going to be bad. So moving over here to another region, Kansas, Purdue. We kind of talked about that game already. Oregon, Michigan.
You're not going to either. Who y'all going to that game? I'm the only one who said.
Michigan's the hottest team in the nation right now.
Yeah, I think that Oregon has made it further than what they should have made it without their awesome
What's
player.
his-
there.
Chris?
Yeah.
Michigan's just they've ever since they put the practice jerseys on in the Big Ten tournament and played the first round with those on.
As if it was practice.
Man, it was just like that plane crash. It was like their last time to ever do anything. It's like it sparked a fire up underneath them.
It
Right
really
now.
has.
Wow,
Great.
fire, right.
Good way to put it,
Beat Louisville. Yeah, we didn't even
It
talk
looked-
about that.
It looked
It
like
looked-
Louisville was going to come back on them, and Louisville was going to pull it out in that one. And Michigan they looked like a team that had the will to win. So I would take them over Oregon there.
I got to tell a funny story really quick. Off the Cuff's own Ryan Mullins, who's been on plenty of the podcasts for Off the Cuff.
His job?
We don't know. I'm
Most Louisville fans are though. So
most Louisville fans are salty, but the Dirty Birds, they lost.
Going back to the Michigan game, I told you when I was over here, we watched the last of that Big Ten tournament, Michigan and Wisconsin. I told you to watch out for Michigan. I don't think I had them going far in my bracket, but I did mention saying that Michigan would go pretty far in the tournament. I mean, they're on a 7-game win streak, and I agree with Jordan. I do believe that plane crash was the turn of their season, and that's also a big story of the tournament. It's kind of going under the radar right now, but yeah, I'm going Michigan. I think.
What
think
happened
they're going-
with that plane crash?
their plane, it was due to high winds, and their plane couldn't
Blew
get
off the runway.
It blew off the runway and couldn't get stopped soon
Said it was a
enough.
miracle that nobody died.
That's one of my biggest fears is dying in a plane crash. That's scary.
Yeah, and
You fly a lot.
their uniforms are still locked up on the plane. That's why they had to wear their
Practice
jerseys in
uniforms.
their
Wow.
first round.
It's almost like they should have died on that day, so they're kind of like, wow, we have another chance at life. We're in March Madness. Let's do this. So hey, Michigan could be that team that could be the story.
Hey, if Kentucky's out, let's cheer for Michigan. Why not?
That could be that story.
That's
The
a hell
Fab
of a
Five
story.
is back, except it'd be
They're not.
No, except not. But UNC Butler, North Carolina, I think they got so close to getting beat last time. But North Carolina's good. Every time that ball goes up, it's a different ball game. So I'm going UNC.
Of course.
UNC's
Same.
got way too much talent.
Yeah, I would love to be playing Butler as a Kentucky fan instead of UCLA. So,
Isn't that the truth?
I'd go all Tar Heels in that one.
Man, it seems like North Carolina or Duke are always getting these easy teams in the tournament. And
Until they
here
play
it is
us.
again. Here it is again. They're getting North Carolina up against Butler. But, Butler has pulled some upsets in the past, but I don't think they're going to do it this Saturday.
I don't
or
think Butler's
whatever night
gonna
they play, Thursday, whatever. They're not. No, North Carolina's.
Butler's not an easy team. Butler's a sound basketball team, but North Carolina is full of talent. And Roy Williams has a track record that not many coaches in basketball
match.
have right now. And North Carolina is going to come out, and I think they'll beat Butler by about 14, 15 points and advance to the Elite Eight.
All right, let's make our Elite Eight predictions right after we talk about the UCLA-Kentucky game. Who you got, Chad? You got UCLA or you got Kentucky?
You gonna make me go first?
Yeah. Who you
Man, I was just thinking about this.
Okay.
It's so hard not to pick Kentucky, man. But
Uh-huh.
and like I said in the first podcast that we had, the kickoff show, I don't think UCLA can beat us 3 times in a row. But they're a damn good basketball team, man. I mean, every one of their players are playing absolutely well, are great right now.
I mean,
If I'd said UCLA, I know all y'all would give me crap. I can't pick UCLA. I think that we will at least make it to the Final Four. We might get beat in the Final Four by North Carolina, but I think we're beating UCLA. We're the 1-point underdog right now going into the game.
This UCLA game is actually what I was telling Chad yesterday. This is what I wanted. I told him I wanted UCLA to beat Cincinnati.
Uh-huh.
I think UCLA, they've had our number the past couple times, and Kentucky's due a win against UCLA, and we've already got our feel for them this year. We've already played them once, and I mean when you get to UCLA, you got TJ Leaf, you got Lonzo Ball, and then you got the Alford kid, and then when you get past that, if you can get one of those people in foul trouble and stop them from the perimeter, then you've got a pretty good chance at beating UCLA. They are high scoring, they are fast paced.
But look how good our defense is playing the past few games.
Yeah, but so is Kentucky, and you've also got a more experienced defense than you did in November the first time we played them. So I think Kentucky will be able to beat UCLA. I think it's going to be a close game. I think you can take Kentucky by 6 in that one.
Okay, so we all and who do you have? Do you have UCLA, Kentucky, Josh?
I'm going to believe Kentucky as much as UCLA is looking good right now, especially Lonzo Ball. As much as I've talked about him this episode, I just got to believe in the Kentucky, and I'm a true fan of UK.
Okay, and Zach?
I pretty much would piggyback on what Jordan said. I think in the first game, Kentucky was, at that point in the season, we were just trying to outrun everybody. We thought we were the most athletic team in the country, and we ran into a team that was pretty much equal to us in the speed and quickness department. Now we've kind of come around to being more of a smart defensive team. I think we won't get torched as bad as we did in that first game. And I also think that Cal's going to put a big emphasis on taking smart shots to really limit what UCLA is able to do in transition. If we're jacking up a bunch of stupid threes, they're going to be able to run out. So I look for us to limit those and win. I'll make it a little bit closer than Jordan said. I think the refs will have something to say. Probably a 3-point UK victory.
And I'm just going to kind of piggyback off what Chad said. I think it's hard to beat a team twice or 3 times. And
Last year doesn't compare. They had different players.
I don't think that UCLA is going to be able to defeat Kentucky again. I think Kentucky, it's time for Kentucky to beat UCLA. It's been way too long. It's overdue. So Kentucky's going. I mean, and honestly, I think that Kentucky's more talented than UCLA. I think there's more genuine talent on Kentucky's team. So if both teams play their best, I still think Kentucky could win. But our team has to be playing good. You cannot half-ass it. You just can't.
Yeah, if we come out slow like we did yesterday, and like we've done in the past, these slow starts of scoring 5 points in 7 minutes, that can't happen. They'll blow us out of the water, and it'll be a rough game to watch. But we're just due for one of those games where we come out hitting on all cylinders. And I think that this could be one of the games right here against UCLA.
Monk is due for a hot start.
Yes, and Monk is due for a hot start.
Monk has not had a hot start in
The
games.
one thing that scares me about that game, though, we're playing in Memphis, but we also have a 9:45 tip-off right now, which is probably going to be, 10, somewhere around there.
Right, late game.
So you got to think, UCLA sitting and looking at that's a 7 o'clock tip-off,
Right.
In California. To them, that's the time that they're used to.
And you think that affects?
It's going to affect
the way they
us.
play?
I mean, it affects anybody. When, like on Friday night, Kentucky's ball game didn't end till, 12:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's hard to get some kids that are not used to doing that every night, and then finishing up and then playing, into the morning hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think UCLA is just as big a disadvantage where they have to adjust their 3 hours. Even though they play at that time usually, like 7 p.m. in Western time, they have to adjust to being awake here at our time standard. But yeah, we're not used to playing at 10.
I agree, but one advantage that we do have, and I think y'all can all agree with me on this, is who's going to have more fans there? Is it going to be Big Blue Nation, or is it going to
Big
be
Blue Nation.
It's gonna be
UCLA?
There'll be some Cats chance.
From the
Yeah.
California
Big
area.
We will see a lot of blue.
They're not
If
gonna be
there's
there.
not Cats chance, then I'm going to be highly disappointed in the Big Blue Nation.
There ought to be a sea of blue.
So we pretty much told our
Kentucky
predictions
blue.
of the Elite Eight because we went through there the Sweet 16, told who we thought was going to win. So now before we go, let's make our Final Four prediction. Now that we've seen a few of the teams play, let's make our Final Four prediction of who you got. Now, I said the winner of the Wisconsin-Florida game would be Florida, and I said it was going to be South Carolina, so we're going to see an SEC team win. I think Mike White is going to take Florida to the Final Four.
That
on
was
side.
wide open up there in the East, so
Yeah.
that's certainly possible.
Yeah, so I definitely think that. And I also think that I said that I said WVU was going to win that game, didn't I? Or did I say Gonzaga? I said WVU.
No, you said Gonzaga.
Yeah.
You said Gonzaga.
Yeah. I said Zags. Versus Xavier, and I think
All the upsets.
Gonzaga is going to continue there and go to the Final Four. And then I think that it's going to be Kansas versus Michigan, with Kansas winning that, of course. No, I'll take that back. Michigan winning that because of the whole plane thing. Yeah. And then UNC Butler going to go, of course I said UNC versus Kentucky. I told you guys Kentucky was going to win the national championship, so I'm putting them in the Final Four. So there you got Kentucky, Gonzaga, Florida, and Michigan in the Final Four.
Mine's gonna have to be. I'm gonna go with you and say I'm gonna go Florida out of the East. Florida's playing good ball right now. I think Florida has a good team to beat Wisconsin, and then I think Baylor is due a slip up, but I don't think it's going to be against South Carolina. But I do not think Baylor can beat Florida right now. So I'm going to take Florida out of the East. Whenever you get down to the West, I'm going to have in the Elite Eight. I'm going to have West Virginia, Arizona playing. Arizona's hot. They got the coach of the year. I don't care what y'all say about Arizona and their coach. They got a damn good ball team. So I'm going to go on the left side of the bracket. You're going to have a Florida Arizona game, and then on the right side of the bracket, out of the Midwest, you're going to have Kansas and you're going to have Michigan. Elite Eight game. Kansas, they're too experienced. Their track record's too good. Their coach is too good. Their fan base is great. That's going to help them a lot of the way through. And they've played, the tough matchups and overcome the tough matchups all year this year. Kansas will advance to the Final Four out of that. And then you got UNC Butler. UNC is going to take out Butler. And then I'm going to go Kentucky over UCLA. But I'm going to take North Carolina over Kentucky. So I'm going to have North Carolina, Kansas, Florida, Arizona. And then I got Arizona, UNC championship game with the North Carolina win.
Oh, okay.
Look at that. Duke's gone, so now he's switching
Yeah,
his
he's-
Duke shirt to Tar Heel shirt.
yeah.
It's going to go a couple miles down the road.
He's
Hopefully
trying to be a
He's-
Carolina.
I think he's just trying to jinx North Carolina now.
Yeah,
Look what he did to
that's
Duke.
right. That's right.
That's the reason they
He's
lost.
jinxing him.
Benefit of the
He's
doubt
jinxing
there.
him. He's jinxing him.
I'm not going to overanalyze and give all of my victories. I'm just going to go ahead and give my Final Four.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Florida, Arizona, Kansas, and UK. And the reason I choose UK over UNC is because we already beat them once on their home court with our freshman Monk scoring 47.
Neutral court.
It was a
Neutral
neutral
court.
court.
Oh, sorry. Monk still scored 47 on the road as a freshman.
All right, so Zach, let's hear it. Let's hear
Well,
that.
all right, I'm going to throw a little bit different in the East. I'm going Wisconsin out of the East. I was really impressed with their performance over Villanova. That's
Okay.
a group of players there and a program that's really just had a lot of success at Wisconsin over the last few years.
Very possible.
That's
Very
a wide
possible.
open bracket. I
Very
mean, Florida's a great team. Not trying to sell them short, but I think they'll get the edge over Florida, and I think they'll beat whoever comes out of Baylor, South Carolina. I already made my point about the slacks. In the West, for Bob Huggins, I think that carries them to the Final Four.
Love it.
In the Midwest, I like Michigan as well. They look like they're peaking at just the right time. Could be Kansas as well, but I'll give Michigan the nod there. And I'm going to stick with my original pick, which I kind of thought I was being biased about it, but this is the only Final Four team I had from a week ago. Still left. I'm going to stick with the Wildcats in the Final Four.
Okay.
I agree with Zach what he said about Wisconsin. I'm going with Wisconsin out of the East. Wisconsin, there's 3 guys on the team really stick out to me. Nigel Hayes, who we've seen in the past, who's really hurt us. Ethan Happ, who I believe is one of the best players in the Big Ten Conference, and Bronson Koning, whatever, you know what I'm saying.
And Nigel, he's the one that took Nova out with that.
Oh yeah, those 3 guys right there are really tough.
He's
And
been there for forever. He came in. I think he came in 1936 with Perry Ellis.
Yeah, they were in the same. They were in the same recruiting class, I believe. And so I'm taking Wisconsin out of the East. In the West, I'm sticking with what I had originally. I'm going with Arizona. I think they're a really good team. And then out of the Midwest, I kind of want to go Kansas, but I already picked Purdue over Kansas this upcoming week in the Sweet 16. So I agree with you, Banks. I'm going with Michigan. This whole little
the theme of life, man. Because they want to live. Bob Huggins wants to live. We all want to live. we all
Life lessons here on Off the Cuff.
Let's let Michigan versus WVU for the game of life.
So I mean, but that's an 8 seed. That's 1 8 seed and 1 7 seed. You gotta spice things up a little bit. You always have those random 8 seeds, 6 seeds, and so we're gonna have an 8 seed and a 7 seed and a 2 seed, and then out of the South. Still going with my Cats. Kentucky Wildcats. We're going to beat UCLA. We're going to beat North Carolina. We're going to the Final Four. That's what I got. So I got Wisconsin, Arizona, Michigan, Kentucky.
And there you have it, folks. All predictions from the professional sports crew here on Off the Cuff. Guys, I definitely think this was a fun podcast to do, talking about rounds 1 and 2. And the next time that we are all meeting, all these games are going to be played, and we're going to be looking at a Final Four, and we're going to be talking about those games.
Hey, Adam, you keep calling us professionals, but I've yet to receive a dime out of this. When's that? Is that just back pay? Or
it's a direct deposit. For real? Have you not been getting
Maybe I gave you the wrong bank account info. I don't know. We'll have to check that out.
If it's off just the digit, it'll go to another account.
No, maybe you're putting too much money in this studio.
I should mention, courtesy of the producer, he told me about this new mic, and I was like, yeah, it's a great idea to get this new mic for the show. So I ordered it, and
Luckily got it in
very early for the show, and I'm using it right now. If we sound different, it's because we're using a new microphone, which is called Zach's Sound. ZAX Sound. It's a condenser microphone, so maybe it's supposed to make my voice a little bit more clear.
Do I get some royalties on that?
Do you spell it with an X?
I can if I'm going to get paid.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Adam Banks, Zach Hahn, Chad Rainwater, Jordan Conaster, and Josh Bryant here on Off the Cuff. We'll see you in the next episode.
All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove. Oh.